When a public figure appears in accident-related headlines, attention spreads quickly. Recently, discussions involving Anthony Joshua have reminded many people how fast public interest grows when a well-known name is mentioned alongside an unexpected situation. This video is for general educational information only, not legal advice. When stories like this circulate, most people focus on the headline itself. They read the name, skim the details, and move on. But what often goes unnoticed is how similar the underlying process is for everyone once an accident enters the picture. Whether someone is famous or completely unknown, when accidents happen, attention usually goes to what happened and who was involved. What gets less attention is what happens afterward. That's where documentation, early conversations, and recorded information begin to shape how situations are later understood. For public figures, every word can be repeated across media outlets, social platforms, and news summaries. Statements are analyzed, quoted, and sometimes misunderstood. For everyday people, the audience is much smaller, often limited to reports, forms, or internal records, but the process itself is surprisingly similar. Information is gathered early. Timelines are established, initial descriptions are written down. These early details often become the foundation for everything that follows, even when new information appears later. One reason public figures draw so much attention is visibility. Visibility makes people more aware of how easily information can spread and how quickly assumptions can form. But visibility doesn't change how systems operate behind the scenes. Insurance processes, documentation requirements, and follow-up procedures tend to work the same way regardless of who is involved. Another thing public discussions highlight is how early moments matter. Immediately after an accident, people are often still processing what happened. Emotions can be high, details may be unclear, and conversations can feel informal. Yet those early moments are often when the most lasting records are created. For well-known individuals, those records may take the form of public statements or media reports. For others, they may exist quietly in files, notes, or internal systems. In both cases, early information can carry more influence than people expect. Public headlines also show how incomplete information can lead to confusion. Early reports may lack context. Details may change as more becomes known. This can make outcomes seem inconsistent or surprising when viewed later. That's one reason accidents involving public figures can be educational. They reveal how quickly narratives form and how difficult it can be to correct misunderstandings once initial impressions are established. Another overlooked aspect is timing. Information gathered early often feels more reliable simply because it came first. Later details may be accurate, but they can be viewed through the lens of what was recorded initially. This happens across many situations, not just high-profile ones. When people watch public stories unfold, they often assume the experience must be completely different for someone famous. In reality, while the visibility is different, the structural process is often very similar. Systems rely on early documentation, recorded details, and timelines to make sense of what happened. This is why public discussions around accidents can be valuable learning moments. They show how outcomes are influenced not just by events themselves, but by how those events are described, recorded, and interpreted over time. They also remind us that clarity doesn't always come immediately. Early information is rarely complete, yet it often carries lasting weight, especially when it becomes part of an official record or widely repeated narrative. Understanding this helps explain why accident outcomes sometimes feel confusing or unexpected to the people involved. It's not always about what happened, but about how and when information was captured. Looking at public examples through an educational lens helps shift the focus away from speculation and toward awareness. It encourages people to think about processes rather than personalities, and about systems rather than headlines. That's the real value of these discussions. They help highlight patterns that apply broadly, not just to those in the public eye. By paying attention to how accidents are discussed, documented, and revisited over time, people can better understand why early moments matter so much. For everyone. Subscribe to Accident Facts for more accident and insurance awareness.